I'm super excited. I love leadership, luncheon leadership, bringing in different people to come in and speak with you guys. Today is special, you guys know, because my mom is here. If you guys have been around here for very long, most of you guys have, you heard her, maybe even a couple years ago, has it been? So I know Katie, we were talking, it's almost been a year and a half since you've been here, and you weren't here for that, right, Katie?
You were not here?
Yeah.
No, ma'am.
So,
I think it was the end of 21, maybe
Yeah.
November or something.
I was
21.
not here.
so it's been a little bit, and I can say this, you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat. And let me tell you, I get leadership honest because I've learned it honestly from my mom. I've told you guys many of stories that she has always led companies from the time I can remember. And she's led people. I remember taking trips, that we would take trips to go on vacation, and we were, as a teenager, it would just here we go again, another Zig Ziglar tape or another Les Brown tape we've got to listen to or something like that. But it honestly helped mold who I am today just by that stuff. So much so, I've told you guys earlier, I've got Aiden right now. He's reading with me How to Win Friends and Influence People, just because I want him to be able to pick. He's a little bit of trouble, but other than that, we're doing it for a little bit of growth, and so he can learn in that and going through that book together. But she has always been a leader from the beginning. From the far as I can remember, she's either owned real estate companies or she's ran insurance companies or wherever she was at. She was an entrepreneur. She built up real estate companies, very large real estate companies, and sold them, waited out no competes, and then started it all over again and built another one and did it again. And it's been very, very successful doing that through her career. And one of her favorite things is just speaking and motivating people. And she's really good at it. So, and she's been doing it for years. So I'm super excited to have Marcella Hagan here today to lead our luncheon leadership.
That's the best introduction you've ever given me.
There we go.
Oh, yes, Les Brown. It ain't over till I win. Do y'all think he understands that? Yes. Are you hungry? Yes. I think he understands that. I believe it sunk in with him back then. And Zig Ziglar, I just can't say enough about Zig and the things, the positive, and he's slow and that kind of thing. So yeah, we did. I think we listened more to Les Brown than when y'all were growing up, that kind of stuff, because he's just so funny. Another one he would say was, if I can look up, I can get up. So when you're knocked down and you're down there, he'd say, if I can look up, I can get up. And that's just he had great mental attitude about succeeding and how he was going to do it. And we do more by climbing on top of our failures. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today. First of all, thank you for that introduction. I love you, love you, love you. And everybody knows I'm the other half to Jimmy Hagan over here. And I'm 53 years of putting up with me. Some days I go, okay. Our personalities are very different. Y'all know him. And he does put up with me sometimes, because, okay, I'll just go in the other room then.
I can hear you.
No, I say that, not him. He just sits there. He's not very confrontational. Have y'all noticed that? Yeah. Yes. So, but congratulations on your last year awards that you won. That is a sign of what we're going to talk about today. It starts with the bonding, and I believe that y'all work hard in bonding a team here, not just individuals we've got to win. John Maxwell says that you go across this way when you talk about win. It's a win-win if we win. If I win and Katie wins, or she loses, it's a win-lose. I won, I'm all pumped up. First of all, I can remember in real estate, and I can guarantee you, y'all can relate to this when somebody wins over the top. There was this girl, and I was teaching all this stuff about being positive and everything, and she walked in, she went, oh, guess what? I just picked up this builder, and I've got 140 listings. And I went, that is so awesome. And I turned around, I don't know how she got that. Well, I know that builder. How in the world did she get that? And I didn't get it. There's some of that when there is a win-lose, but a win-win when there's a we and the team is winning is so much better. So congratulations on your franchise, Mr. Sparky Franchise of the Year and your International Franchise Association of the Year. I mean, guys, that is awesome. So what are we trying to do this year? Where do we want to go this year? What do we want to win?
We're gonna win it all over again.
Win it all over again. Is there anything above that that you can get? Are you at the top?
I don't think there's a higher one within what we do. So,
Has anybody ever
Great
won it
question.
twice?
I don't know if everyone's ever won it back to back. No.
Okay, then we need to find that out. That can be our we goal, is we're gonna win it back to back at that point. And leadership does make a difference. You guys in this room, whether you're on Zoom or you're in here with me physically in this room, leadership makes a difference. It makes a difference with your mindset. We're gonna talk about several different things with that, and I'm not moving. There we go. I listened to a podcast the other day and John Maxwell was talking about it, and I told Aaron, I got so excited, and then I jumped from one podcast to the other. And so I've got about 5 different ones in here. We're going to talk about, it's not just through one, but he said, take off the cloak of average. Oh my gosh, guys. I mean, who wants to be an average? Oh my gosh. Well, I did this much production this month. That's average. That is not okay. That is not okay. What is another word for average?
Sucks.
So I like that one. That sounds like something I'd say. He is. My son.
Average sucks.
Average sucks. That's what you can hear John Maxwell when he talks about average. It's like his voice goes down. He does not like the thought of being average or telling anyone that's in his group certified that they're average. It's ordinary. It's common. It's everyday. It's average. It's ordinary. So what is the difference between ordinary and extraordinary? The difference is that one little word, extra. You put extra into whatever you're doing and you become extraordinary. So I want y'all to think about this. And I think last time, since Katie wasn't here, there's probably several of you that wasn't here. I told the story, and I'm not going to tell the whole story again, but I want to remind you, I had a friend that was in a coaching program, and he went into this program, and they asked around the room, they said, what is your one extraordinary thing that you're going to do this year? And most of the time when you're in a room with where you work like that, you tie it back to work. You know, like we said, we're going to be number 2. We're going to do this on to back to back, those kind of things. We're going to watch our numbers, and that's where we're going to be. He didn't do that. He said, I'm going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Do y'all remember me talking about that guy, that how many times he tried to climb before he actually succeeded? And the problems was that he was looking at the obstacles and not at how he was going to get at the top. That's what he was doing. And so when you think about extraordinary, you've got to be able to climb on top of those obstacles, but you need something. I think everybody needs something extraordinary in their life. If you don't set your goals at the beginning of the year, and I'm not talking about your New Year's resolution, because 90% of the people don't do that they're off within the first 2 weeks of the year with doing that. But I'm talking about your real goals, the goals that you guys set with Aaron and Daryl and your leadership. You set with your guys. Where are we going to be? What are we going to do? Y'all might not know this, but I can go in the afternoon, especially on the weekends. I can go, Jimmy, where are you going? Well, I'm going to look at the numbers. He watches the numbers for you guys. He really does. And he goes, we're beating, we're having one heck of a month this month with those kind of things. And I know y'all probably do the same thing when you're, pull that computer up. Where are we going? What are we doing? A few minutes ago, Aaron said, I was an entrepreneur. One of the things I want you to think about with extraordinary is not just being an entrepreneur where you are, but be an entrepreneur with purpose. What does that mean? I'm an entrepreneur. How are we going to go this direction? What are our goals? What is our gap? What do we need to actually say, this is where I'm going to be? This is my goal that I set at the beginning of the year. And actually, I think last time I talked to y'all, I talked to you about setting your goals, 12-week goals, those kind of things. So it's just easier when you do it that way than it is for a whole year, because in January, you think you've got a whole year to do what's in December. But if you think you've only got 3 months to do what you're going to do, it changes your mindset on where you're going with that. So look at them. And the most important thing is you need to know your gap. If you didn't hit your goals, you either didn't set them right. And guys, this bothers me that I say it because I train all the time with real estate agents. When I have an agent that's failing, do you think that I think it's that agent's fault? Down deep, it's my fault. I either hired wrong or I didn't train them properly. So I need to ask the right questions to figure out if they're in the right bus. I don't know who we talking. Yes, if they're in the right bus, and get them if they're not the right seat on the bus. They may not even be on the right bus at that point. But have purpose with these things with your leadership. 5 rules we're going to talk about today for extraordinary leadership. 1 is control your destiny, or someone else will. We'll talk about that one in a minute. Number 2 is face reality as it is, not as it was or you wish for it to be. Number 3 is be candid with everyone. 4 is change. Oh my goodness, that is one that hits all of us in the face all the time. I love this saying, when someone asks what I do, I say whatever it takes. I had a broker that hired me as a coach, and I wasn't even thinking about this. And he said, Marcella, I need for you to do this. He said, I want to tell you something. When you tell me you're going to do something, I know it's going to get done. If you have to stay up all night to get in there and get it done, it's going to get done. And I have worked all night long before. So when you tell somebody, when you commit to Aaron, when you commit to Daryl, when your guys commit to you, they need to understand that when they make that commitment, it's a commitment. They've got to do whatever it takes to get there, or they don't need to make that commitment. That they need to say, I can't do it by tomorrow. I can't get that done. This is what I can do. And we need to discuss it at that point. So number 5 is don't manage, but lead. So control your destiny. We've talked about setting your goals. And the second thing on that was listen more than you talk. Go the extra mile. And I'm going to brag on someone, Zeke, who has him, the group. Okay. I don't know if you know the story about him or not, but a lot of times I had a listing that closed the first of the year this year. And it was, remember when it was snowing and so bad, the storm was so bad here. This lady was 72, she was 74. Didn't matter. She was in her 70s anyway. And she was a widow, and she was at home by herself, and her heat was out. She was having lots of problems, and I was doing everything I could to get someone to go over there. Well, they needed an electrician to do some repairs to get the house sold. And I had told her about Mr. Sparky. So she called up here, and Zeke got that job. He went over there. Not only did he offer he fixed her stuff, told her what was wrong. She needed bulbs to go in it. For one thing, he offered to go to the store and get the bulbs for her, but he swept her sidewalk off. Guys, if you hadn't read that book, Unreasonable Hospitality, that's what they're talking about that in there. You don't forget that kind of stuff. You just don't. And so notice when your men do these kind of things, notice it, brag on them, because there's something inside of us that when you're that kind of personality, it makes you feel good for somebody to say, good job, you did a great job. Know your numbers. We talked about that a few minutes ago. Know your gap. I say this all the time, as a lot of agents, we had what we call bold laws in one of the companies that I worked for. And I say what gets measured gets improved. What gets erased must be replaced. So if you look at your numbers and you measure your numbers, you're going to improve your numbers. If you never look at them, you're not going to know where you are and where you're going with those. If you say you're going to do something and an emergency happens and you can't do it right then I suggest that you figure out when you can get that done. It's not something you give up because you didn't have time or it shouldn't have been on your list to start with. So we were in a meeting, and a coach from our corporate office was there, and they said, tell me one of the bold laws. And somebody said, what gets measured gets improved. And she said, I think that's good, but I don't think that's a bold law. And one of the other people said, that's a Marcella law. So they got me a cup that says that what gets measured gets improved. And I just believe it makes a difference. It has over all these years, keeping your numbers. Opportunities are not lost. So you control your destiny. When you look at something and you want that, you want to go for that, a job opportunity, you want to move up. And I've watched Aaron move a lot of people up in the ranks and Mr. Sparky from inside. And you want to do that. If you don't show the potential there, those opportunities are not lost. They're just picked up by somebody else, guys. Those are real opportunities. They're there. If you want it, you've got to act like you want it. You've got to do the things it takes to get there. So understand that those opportunities are real. Number 2 is face your reality as it is, not as it was, or as you wish it to be. Focus. What you focus on expands. And that is so true. If you believe that you're going to fail, and listen, I've got one finger pointing in y'all and 3 and the thumb pointing back at me. That thumb's a little crooked and it wiggles every now and then, but it's easy for me to start focusing on things that aren't happening instead of the things that I can make happen like that. So focus on what you focus on expands. When you get to the top of the mountain, like we were talking about a few minutes ago, when you get to the top of that mountain, you are standing on the very top of the obstacles that it took you to get there. Those obstacles didn't move. You overcame them. You're at the top. But what I want you to understand is some people go, hey, I'm at the top of the mountain. I've got this job situation. I'm doing all these things. And they're at the top of the mountain. And that's what they focus on. Do you realize there's another mountain on this side that's probably going to be more fun, more exciting? But what has to happen for you to hit that mountain on the other side? Anybody know?
Keep climbing.
Keep climbing. But if you're here and you want to get over here, yes, Rachel is right. You have to go through the valley and back up the mountain again. You can't jump from one mountaintop. Now you can get a helicopter or something that, but you can't. Helicopter. Me too. That sounds like something we try to do. When we get over there, you learn the best lessons from those obstacles and those failures. So that person, me that got the helicopter or something, I would miss out on all those lessons that I learned going up that mountainside. So anyway, I'm going to tell you a story that Jimmy told me a long time ago. You probably know what it is. It's the picture of the donkey that's up there. I have told this in so many training. I don't think I've told it to y'all. Do you remember it, Rachel? Okay, then I haven't told it to you, but this is something to think about. There was a donkey and he was old and he was on a farm. This old farmer knew he was old. Well, he fell into a well that they weren't using. And I'm really good at telling stories, so I'm going to watch Jimmy, so I'm sure I'm not going to tell this like he told me. Aaron and I get that honest. We make the story really good. Yes, yes. So the donkey falls into this well if they're not using anything. Another farmer sees him that was out there, and he goes to the other farmer and says, your donkey has fell in this well, and he's braying or whatever, making all these noises down the bottom of that well. And the farmer goes out there and he looks down the well. It's very deep. How in the world is going to get the donkey out? It's going to be hard. So he says, I don't need the well anyway. It's empty. I'm just going to put dirt on top of the donkey. We're not going to worry about it. I'm just going to look. Katie's going, that sounds fair. I'm just going to bury the donkey down in there. And so he ordered a bunch of dirt in and they started dumping the dirt in. Well, at first the donkey got real excited. It gives me coach just thinking about how we can do this when things go wrong and we just get things piling back on top of us like that. And you just, whatever they do, not sound like a dog, but a donkey, what does a donkey do? Hey, thank you.
I'd say Jared's the closest we have to a donkey, so maybe he could let one out.
So the more dirt he put on there, what he figured out is yes, good, Jared, that's exactly right. He stepped on top of the dirt as they was piling the dirt in that hole. Pretty soon the donkey climbed out of that hole and up there with the farmer. How smart is that? And what a good analogy. I told Aaron we're going to use a lot of habitudes that today, and I since I've started reading some of his books and listening, I love how you can use animals and images to help you. I had an agent that started with me years ago, back in the 90s at Remax, that came back and told me that story. And she said, I can't tell you how many times I've thought about that donkey crawling out of that hole. When you get into a situation that feels like it's covering you up, that you're going to get buried and you can't get out. And she said how you just take one step at a time, at a time, and you end up on the top. So be candid with everyone. This is so important. And I put a picture of Aaron up there winning and stuff. I'm his mother, but I'm going to tell you that aside from that, if I wasn't looking in, he is the most candid, vulnerable leader. He cares. He just cares. He cares about your spouses. He cares about you. He makes things a great place to work. That's what you need to do. That needs to go down. It starts with the leader. It starts with Daryl. It starts with Aaron at the top, how they treat y'all. And then it funnels down to you guys, how you treat everybody else. Here's where I came on with the habitudes, and I'm not a sports person. You're gonna laugh because I'll go to the football games if my grandkids are playing. I'll go to basketball, baseball if they're playing, but I don't just go, even watch the Razorbacks and all them. I like it once I get there, but I'll just let somebody else go in my place. It's fine, you know that. But Tim Elmore was teaching a lot of coaches. He's helped a lot in the sports arena with them, teaching them the habitudes and stuff. And one of them he worked with was the Kansas City Royals. And if some of you have read his books, you probably have heard of this, but Coach Van Wilson was a AAA coach. He was a baseball coach. And he was telling stories about habitudes that Tim had taught them in the coaches arena. And he was sitting there talking to his guys, and he noticed that Mike, the third baseman, wasn't listening to him. And he was looking down. He just, you can, I mean, I could look at y'all and tell you who was listening to what I'm saying today and who was not at that point, because that's why people say, I'm just going to teach it, and I don't need to see anybody. I need eye contact to be me when I'm doing this, because you can tell what's happening. But Mike was not listening. And so they quit, and Coach Van said, okay, go to BP. They told me that's batting practice. I did learn something on this. So they all went out to BP except for Mike. And Mike went over to Coach Van and he said, Coach, he said, do you mind next week if I teach the lesson? He went, oh man, that'd be awesome. I thought you weren't even listening today. And he said, no, I'd really like to do it. And he said, okay. So next week came along, Mike gets up there, and, we have this picture of athletes, and, they're just macho, and they're chewing tobacco and all that kind of stuff. That's my picture of them, maybe not y'all's, and you guys and stuff like that. But Mike gets up there in front of all the team members, and he said, guys, said he hemmed around a little bit, Tim did, because he's not a speaker, but he wanted to do this. He said, do y'all know what I have in my back pocket? And they did what I said. Macho people, they're not going to have any idea what he has in his back pocket. They did guess chewing tobacco, that kind of stuff. And he reaches in his back pocket and he pulls out a rope. And he looks at them and he said, this is sad. Sometimes we just don't have any idea the effect that we have on other people. But he said, last week, I was going to hang myself. This is a noose that I was going to use. And I learned through these habitudes, through the stuff that we shared with each other, the vulnerability, people talking like that y'all are my family. He said, my mom and dad are real disappointed in me because I'm not doing as well as I should. I'm in a hitting slump and it's just not working. And he said, and I just broke up with my girlfriend and she doesn't care anymore. And I didn't feel like I had anything to live for. And after this lesson, I feel like y'all are my family and I can move on. And so they went on, and Tim said, not because of this, but he said they went on to win the championship that year. And he said, it goes back because they were vulnerable, because they bonded, and because it was a we and not an I. And they all got up, they started talking about, oh gosh, we'll do this, and encouraged him and his other things. So it just does make a difference when you've got the bonding on the team. So number 4, Aaron and I both got excited about this. We heard this on, has he told y'all about it? Oh my goodness gracious, what a great philosophy to think about. The buffalo and not the cow. Has you shared this with all your leadership that's in there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time on here, guys, then, if you've already heard it.
No,
Well-
go ahead. They get here more.
That you can hear it and it'll probably be a different story, yes, than what you heard before. The main thing I was going to point out is that those cows graze on that flat land over there, and they don't even know a storm is coming. The storm is on them before they even know it. And then when it hits, it's this wind and rain and lightning and all this stuff, and they just take off running. And they're in the middle of the storm and they run and they run and they don't get out of the storm. They run with the storm. But what I loved about that story with the buffalo, he's down in Colorado where you see the Rockies and those kind of things in the mountains. That's where they are. He's looking at the top of the mountain and he watches. If there's a storm coming, then what he does is he gets ready. When he hits the right place up there, he charges the storm and he goes through it. Guys, if we are looking at what we're doing in our work situation, in our life situation, whatever we're in, and we charge that storm, we're going to move through it. every time. It may not be when we get through it, it may not be the results that we thought was going to happen when we got through that, but we're going to get through it and we're going to move to the next arena that's in there. Change with confidence is an attitude of belief. It is that attitude of belief is greater than past failures. It just is. When you get through that storm, it gives you the ability to stand firm regardless of circumstances. Doesn't matter what you're in. Change with confidence. Don't manage, lead. Leaders go first. We said this in the very beginning. I love this. And again, this is another one. Aaron and I talk a lot about this kind of stuff. I listen to podcasts and I'll send him podcasts. He sends me stuff that he thinks I'll like too. So y'all probably heard some of this too. But this is the guide dog and the guard dog. Have you shared this with them? Okay. This is so true. I find myself, and I bet a lot of us do, we find ourselves moving to the guard dog mentality every day. I mean, it's just a default that we go to, but I want us to think about the difference between a guard dog and a guide dog. The guide dog's job is to stay close, go first, be vulnerable, to initiate on behalf of the others, to partner with them. So when you've got someone on your team that's not, they don't understand exactly what they're doing, they're not stupid. They just need you to partner with them. Are you hired wrong? No, just decent. Was doing that, but you need to partner with them. The guide dog's job, the guard dog's job is to protect. And most days we default to that. I can see myself, and protecting doesn't always mean you're protecting the money, you're protecting the back end. It's not always that. It's just that it's a mentality of the job situation that we find ourselves protecting. It feels like if my whole team does this wrong and we don't, I'm going to lose my job. And so we start being the guard dog with those different things like that. So it's not the assets necessarily. It's not funding the bottom line. When the guard dog comes out, it needs to be for protection of those people that you're around. Get in there and protect them. So it comes down to mindset. We talked about that. Something else, I don't know if we were online when we were talking about mindset a few minutes ago, or if that was before we did that. But mindset, motivation, your motivation, wherever you are, your job situation, your opportunity that's in front of you, motivation determines what you do. Ability determines what you're capable of, and attitude determines how well you're going to do it. You can just do something and it can be done, or you can do it right and you can be proud of what you've done and feel good with that. So this is what I'd leave a challenge for you here is number one is I must go first. Think about that as a leader. You have to go first. I must go first. I must model transparency. So when you're with a group of guys, if you will be transparent, if you will be vulnerable, and I don't mean just air the dirty laundry out there, but we're all learning every day. There are things that I have to say, okay, let me just check on that. And the market's changing in real estate. Let me think this thing through and let me get back with you and let's decide together. There are times that I call another broker that are friends of mine that I trust. And I say, okay, I'd like to just, brainstorm with you for a second. This is happening. This is happening. What do you think? Guys, if you got the attitude that you already know it and you don't ever need any help, you're always going to be right, then you have a problem. Just bottom line, you have a problem. So be willing to be transparent, be vulnerable, and I must trust. You've got those people underneath you. You're moving them to a different place, to a good lifestyle, to earn good money in a great company. So you must trust that you've hired right, you put them in the right place, and this is going to work for you. Okay, your challenge is to be an extraordinary leader in 2023, besides those 4 things that I left. And I would love for everybody, this is your homework from Marcella, who tells stories, they're big. I would like for y'all to all think of something that you can do between now, for the rest of the year, but I'd like for you to give it to Aaron between now and your next leadership. Aaron, I want you to ask them, what is one extraordinary thing that you feel like can make a difference? It doesn't have to be in work. It can be in your life. It can be wherever, but I want one extraordinary thing. And the one thing, the way I say it is there needs to be one thing that you do, such as by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary. So I'll tell you that again. The one thing that you're gonna do in your job situation, what is the one thing you can do? You can get up and say this every morning. You know, what can I do today? The one thing I'm going to do today and accomplish this, everything else will be easier or unnecessary. So does anybody have any questions? Did I keep it to 20 or 30 minutes?
You're perfect.
Yeah.
All right.